right. What's going on, everybody? It's me, Ron, going to be kicking off and get everything going, get everything started. So, welcome, first stream of the new year. Ooh, super stoked, super excited. And I guess for the most part, just really just to kind of get some things going and whatnot. And so let's see who we got, who we got. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just dive on in and just be like, hey, how's everybody's day going? Um, what's everybody been doing? How's everybody's New Year started off? Hopefully, got off on a good start, got off on a good right, uh, on a good note, I should say. So typically, again, we start on Tuesdays. That's a little brief introduction and um, give people time to come in, get warmed up, all that other good stuff. And yeah, we're just going to rock it and roll it. I like it. I love it. I like it. I love it. I love it. I like it. And so, if you guys don't know, part of the Melanated Council, waiting on two more folks, but that's okay. I'm here to bring in the vibe, set the tone, and I guess just kick back, relax, chat with you guys, those that are watching, and see what you guys are doing, what are you guys getting into, and things of that nature. The things of that nature. You know. So that's it. That's what we're doing right now. I'm drinking on some cherry Pepsi. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna chat, you know, get this thing going, and you know, have some fun. Okay. Yeah. Just checking through the Discord, seeing if I missed anything. Okay, nothing. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go from there. And how's everybody's day going? First and foremost, how's how is everybody's day going? Like, how's the new year? Like I said before, how's the new year been treating you? And what are you looking forward to see? What are you looking forward to happen in 2022? And yeah, like, what are you guys' plans? Jot them down in the chat. Let's see who we got. Who we got? Listen, 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 sir. I ain't worried about I ain't worried about that because I'm telling you, if I'm doing a sponsor by anybody, it's gonna be a big one. It ain't gonna be no Pepsi. Nah. And plus, it was the last can. It was the last can of the whole 12 pack. So you know, just I'm just thirsty. I got my water in the living room, but I'm not trying to get up to go get my water to bring back here when I had a pop like right there. And I've been eyeing this since I came home from work. So Oh, don't worry, don't worry. Once once we get them advertised dollars in, it's like I said, it's gonna be bigger than Pepsi. But let me add in one more person. Hey, Al.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I am doing all right. How are you doing?
Good. I'm good. I'm good. My eyes hurt. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
same
good.
here.
My eyes hurt for whatever reason and
Eh,
whatnot.
Same. I don't know why my eyes are hurting. Like, and they haven't hurt in a very long time either. So that's the weird
Right?
part.
I'm telling you, like just off the random blue, just like boom, eyes hurt. I'm like, wow, for what?
Let me try to change my name.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone could even get it.
Ah.
Be civil. I don't know.
I get it. I love it. I love it. I love the puns and
Yeah.
uh hold on. There we go.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get the triple threat.
Yeah, I'm telling
Yeah.
you. I'm telling you. Once the triple threat shows up, you're done. You're done. But man, uh
So,
I
how was your
can't
New Year's? How was your New
um,
Year's run?
it was a huge eye opener. And I say that because excuse me, what I heard or went through on New Year's, I verbatim heard it from another person who was nowhere near me, and that triple threat about to show up real quick.
Woo!
Yeah, he just got to get loaded in, but he in here. But yeah, and so it basically confirmed what I heard the other day during New Year's, during the New Year celebration. I heard it again. I'm like, okay, 2022 is something else, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be in a way, in a weird way, whatever you were wanting to do, whatever you were trying to do, whatever you were trying to get accomplished in 2021. If for whatever reason, if you couldn't get it accomplished in 2021, 2022 was basically the year it's going to happen. So no matter what
Okay.
you're thinking about doing, whether it's starting a business, going to college, buying a house, whatever the case may be, 2022 is that prime is the prime time to get it done. And especially if you want to get it done in a New York Millie, yeah, in a New York Millie, we got my man. Yes, Toby.
Hey, I don't know if my thing is.
I,
Can you
I
hear
can,
me okay? Because I'm lagging.
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. It took a very
Yeah,
long time, like, even after I clicked the buttons to get into the spec. This is. That's like taking minutes to join.
mm,
I didn't even realize, like, I didn't get the notification that it went live, but I was like, the way this thing is going, we'll see when it's going to connect. But thankfully, I guess it's acting okay.
yeah.
Mm,
All right. Well, I'm gonna see if I can close some stuff, or if I have to restart some stuff. But I'll just keep things going for now.
okay.
But yeah,
Yeah.
continue.
No, no, no. No, we were just getting into like New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve on the New Year's Day. How's everything been going? Elle asked me how my New Year's was going so far, and I was telling her like what I heard at my church, basically on New Year's Eve, going to the New Year's Day. I basically heard it from the same, almost the same thing verbatim on a Twitch stream um, Sunday. No, Monday. No, it was Sunday. It was Sunday. It was Sunday night. Sunday night. And the streamer, Champagne Streams, I know you guys know her,
Mm-hmm.
Champagne Streams. She basically said the same thing that I heard on New Year, the watch night service that we had in my church, and
Okay.
it was very eerie because it was like, and I asked like, were you like anywhere around me when the sister's like, no, why? Like because like what you just said is what I just heard like not even a day ago, and she was like,
Mm.
oh, for real? I'm like, yeah, like 2022 is going to be one. So again, whatever you were trying to get accomplished in 2021, for whatever reason, it couldn't get done. 2022 is that year to get it done.
I feel that. I
Yeah.
like I just kind of feel that in my bones too, where like I don't know if it was just like, 2020 just put everything to a halt and we all had to kind of like self-reflect on what we needed to do. And
Mm-hmm.
then 2021 we kind of had like a glimpse of hope, a glimpse of freedom, a glimpse of, possibilities, and also like our lack of faith in our current structures have like really like showed their asses. So, now I feel as though people are really trying to just kind of work on themselves and starting to see that how much work it takes to, get things done. And I guess people are a little bit more like, like kind of more excited to do it because,
Mm-hmm.
like, 2020, we just had a lot of time because it was like a massive pause. And then 2021, like we started, pressing fast forward a bit, or at least we pressed play. And then
Yeah.
we realized like, oh my goodness, I have a lot more time. I can actually do things. And we start doing things, you start to realize just how much you can do. At least this is just how I've been seeing things. Like I took that business class that was, I guess, technically it was 16 weeks long, but it was broken out into 10 weeks and 6 weeks. The first 10 weeks was just, I had to do so much work.
Mm.
Top of, seeing a trainer, seeing a therapist, and also working. I was still working full time. It's not like I paused work. Like I was doing all of this. So it was just like a lot. And then at the end of the year, I was like, oh, when I was like reflecting, I was like, oh wow, I did do a lot, and I felt like I could have still just have done more. That's never been like the case for me. Usually when like I do a lot of stuff, I just feel like okay, I did enough and I'm just like sort of content. But I guess like I just felt like a hunger
Mm.
that, like that could only be satisfied by actually like working towards goals that you didn't know I really could, or like you really can. So like it was. So I definitely feel that way. It's like okay, it just feels like 2022 is like a continuation of 2021.
Mm.
So I definitely agree. I mean, of course I'm, like no pastor, and I'm like, preach. And,
Great.
but I don't like not to sound all like woo woo hippie dreadlock chick, but sometimes I like you can at least for me I could sort of like feel the vibes of certain things,
Yeah.
and I definitely feel that vibe where it just seems like I was sort of excited about this year 2022 because like it was, I guess in general it's just a continuation of 2021, and so like it doesn't feel as like I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's like painful. And I feel like people weren't really saying, "Oh, 2022 is going to be my year." 2022, it's just sort of like, "All right, this is just continuing what we're already doing. Nothing's really, changing." Kids are still in the same grade, but they're going to be going up a grade, and
Yeah.
et cetera and so forth throughout the next part of the year. But it just seems to be like, nah, I'm used to it. It's life. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. But yeah, go on about your New Year.
Hold on.
Okay.
Should I?
Oh,
Go ahead,
sure.
Toby.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, a little bit of an echo. I don't know if. Okay, never mind. I think we're good. So, not much on my end. Like I had mentioned a little bit here and there, but I had COVID with no symptoms. So I mean, thankfully, no symptoms to this day. But
Okay.
I did have it. A family member in the house that I was in for the last 2 weeks. I just got back today, by the way. New background. I'm back in Massachusetts. I just flew in like 4 hours ago. So
Glad we didn't miss you this time.
yeah, no, but today was a lot better than similar. I was not supposed to fly Tuesday. My flight was Monday, but this time it was because it snowed a lot. Like I'll actually post pictures. I had saved some on my Snap. It snowed a lot, like in Maryland. Did not snow up here at all in Mass, ironically enough. So my flight didn't get canceled. It just didn't make sense to go home because things would have been super paved. It would have been like a lot happening, honestly. Like it would have been too much to have made, and it was like what after rush hour because it was at 7 p.m. So long story short, today was just like, okay, we're just gonna rebook today, afternoon flight, but at least I had time to get to there. And unlike last time, instead of that 8 a.m. flight, because that's what happened last time, I had an 8 a.m. flight that I didn't make. I got like almost no sleep, and then spent all day at the airport. By the time I got into Maryland, it was almost evening, and by like 8:30 p.m. my body just gave out on me. So this time I had plenty of energy. Even though I didn't sleep as much as I should have. But anyway, for New Year's I didn't get to do much. I may have gone to my cousin's like we did last year. Because basically my cousin, he's married, he hosted last year. It was cool because it was the first time that it was just us hanging out. Because even Thanksgiving, it's like, we have my parents, my aunt, New Year's, sometimes Christmas, New Year's, we do spend the time at each other's places, but again, it's the whole family. So this time it was him, his wife, some of my other cousins, and then my siblings. And we played like some drinking games. And like it wasn't crazy or anything, but it was just like, oh, this is different. And we just chilled, ate some food. We kind of potluck type thing. We brought drinks, brought food, played some games. But this year that didn't happen because of the whole COVID situation. I still need to reach out to him, actually. I should have been more explicit about why I couldn't come after I got that invitation. I thought of going to a party in Silver Spring, so that's near DC. That, of course, was also not going to happen after the COVID exposure. And it would have been difficult anyway because I don't have a car. And it's always an odd thing. I don't know, because we talked about New Year's Eve we talked about New Year's last week, but it was more about resolutions and like reflections. But in terms of traditions, usually we're at church. We've kind of been doing our own thing since like the last years, but usually my parents will make their way somehow to church or online service, and then going out is usually complicated because there's kind of a different whole conversation, but there's like that sort of implicit you should be spending this New Year's in prayer or in church. So
Toby, I get it.
You get it, you know. So this time around, like, it just really for me was just like I'm just gonna like, I don't know. I'm just gonna do whatever. I'm just gonna like reflect on some stuff. I'm gonna maybe like make a list of some things I want to like actually change. I want to, just do whatever. So reflected a bit, kind of thought about what I wanted to get done for 2022. It was cool. Even though circumstances were not the best, but we made do with what we could. And so I'm glad for, what we had, I guess.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. My New Year was pretty chill. I'll be quick. I went to my friend's place. He doesn't live too far, like him and his girlfriend. It was just us three. And, like we just had like a couple of beers. His girlfriend baked cookies. And they have like an Oculus Quest. Actually, they have two, because they have like their other roommates were like at like a family member's house or something. So we got to play Oculus Quest. So we got to play some VR, and it was just really, really chill. And I was like, I really liked bringing in the New Year that way. Like, I could have gone to like my sister's place. She was having a party, but I didn't feel comfortable, even though like everybody was going to be like in the backyard and outside. I just still didn't feel comfortable. Also, like her group of friends are like much older because she's 17 years older than me, and her husband is like 12 years older than her. So, yes, you know, it would have just been kind of like, eh. And then like one of my friends was having a party that was a little far. It was like 40 minutes away, and I didn't want to go too far on New Year's Eve,
Mhm.
especially with like cases going up, and I don't know, people are crazy. People drive crazier in for New Year's Eve. In fact, when I was driving home from my friend's place, like there was somebody just driving on the wrong side of the road, and for like a while, it was like a 2-lane road anyway, and it was like a super quiet street, but they're driving on the other side of the road, and it was like they live in like a rich white area, so I was just not minding my business. I was just minding my business. I'm like, I'm not gonna honk or help, unfortunately. It's like it's a quiet road. No one's gonna, be coming up this way anyway. So- and it was pretty late too. It was like maybe after 3. It was pretty late. I didn't want to leave that late either. But I don't know. They drove like a Ford Expedition. They like a big old car. So I assume they got home fine. Like I feel kind of bad. Oh, I don't know. It's a super rich, like mega filthy, stupid rich white area. I'm sure they got home fine. So, I mean, after that, they corrected themselves and started driving on the right side of the road. I should have mentioned that. So, like,
That's
yeah,
good.
they weren't just doing that the whole time. They only did it for a little while, but still,
At least they only drove illegally for a few minutes.
less than that. It was like 10 seconds, 10, 20
Oh, okay.
Like, I was just like, oh boy. They probably could have been from a different country, honestly. Maybe they weren't, because that happens.
True.
Because some people drive on the other side of the road, so that actually could have been very plausible. So maybe they weren't drunk at all. But yeah, that was my New Year's.
No. Oh, no. I was saying that I just flew back to Boston literally like a few hours ago, within the last 4 or 5 hours. MagFest sounds familiar. You mentioned it before, I think, but maybe some point where life is different. But right now, life is how it is, and it's difficult to be going anywhere.
Nice.
Okay.
Alrighty. So let's you guys want to dive in?
Sure.
Okay. So you guys, for those that are watching us live, we're doing something a little bit different this year, especially when it comes to streaming. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. So this month, what we're going to do is, let me find this one. Bam. So each month, this is our homegirl Elle. She brought this idea to the front table. Like, let's run with it. Like, let's do something new. Let's do something different. It's like, well, how about doing this? And so this, for the month of January, we're going to be dealing with civil rights. We're going to be dealing with civil rights issues, voting, MLK, John Lewis. We're going to be dealing with a lot of these key people, these key components, these key figures, as far as the month of January goes. And we're going to be doing topics. And so tonight, the question that we're asking, and we want to try to dig in a little bit deeper and get your thoughts on this, is are we taking the right to vote for granted? Again, are we taking the right to vote for granted? And And the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm actually going to drop in a link that President Manny sent to us. If you guys have not seen this video, I'm gonna need y'all to watch this video. It's really good. It's really, really good. And so let me get this
I
link.
don't think I've watched it actually.
Oh, I got like halfway through.
I
I'm
have
like
not.
halfway through. It's oh my goodness. It's mind blowing as it is. It's
Okay.
mind blowing as far as what has happened, what's been transpired throughout the time where MLK was basically closing in on basically his final moments, like what was going on, what transpired, how it happened, and then at the same time, it kind of gave you a wake up call of what we're currently dealing with, and how some places, some areas, you wouldn't expect this to happen, but it happened. So I'm gonna drop the link in the chat. Again, you guys watch this, and because again, we're gonna be talking about this a little bit more. But again, this video, the shout out to President Manny. This video in itself basically encompasses the whole month of January, and then again, see it at your leisure, watch it at your leisure, still break it down little by little. But again, the topic for tonight is: are we taking the right to vote for granted? And again, by asking that question, what is going on is most of the states, I'm sorry, most of the countries, most of the states are modifying the way how people are deemed eligible to vote. Okay. And they're also taking into consideration that the election, that this past election was quote unquote rigged for whatever fact of the matter, whatever. But you had a lot of people buy into it. And so now you have several different states across the United States. They're altering their voting laws a little bit, kind of make it harder to go vote. And even then, I read an article. I'm gonna dig up this article. Even then, it's either the Senate or the Supreme Court, one of those two. But basically, they're meddling with the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and they're trying to gut out a lot of the provisions that were put into place to make sure that people still had the right to vote, that people still had the access to vote. They're going to start stripping out those provisions. And so that too is brought up to the forefront. And so I'm going to drop this link in this video. I'm going to drop the link to this video. Again, you guys watch it. Let me see. Okay, there it goes. And again, you guys watch this video. It's a really, really big eye opener. Really, really big eye opener. I've been spending like a day and a half watching it, and so probably after this stream, I'll end up finishing it off. And yeah, just wow. So yeah, that's the thought for tonight. Like, are we taking the right to vote for granted? And we can spin this, talk about this, ask questions, do what you got to do. Because I think that with what happened in 2021, like Elle said, it is a continuation. And a lot of it, of course, we got the good stuff, but we also got the not so good stuff that are coming up. And so, Elle or Toby, what are you guys' thoughts? So, do you think that the American people are taking the right to vote for granted?
Do you want to speak first, or can I go?
Yeah, you can go. I just have random thoughts, but go ahead.
Yeah, say. um, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely do think the American people are taking the right to vote for granted, for sure. Because, like, I forgot, like, if like one thing that I've heard that I think it rings very true is that if your vote didn't matter, why would they try so hard to make it, to take it away from you? Why would
Mm-hmm.
they try so hard to make it difficult to vote? If it wasn't that important, if it wasn't that big of a deal, why would they try so hard? Um, like people risk like life and limb to come to this country to become citizens, to become naturalized, just so they can vote. In the places that in the areas that they live, people, um, like throughout the years, throughout history, people have died, fought and died for the right to vote. People have killed people for voting, because they didn't want things to change, like in the areas, especially, like, it's not like once, well, first it was black men had the right to vote before even women, white women included. So it's not as if it's not like when black men were allowed to vote, it was just like, all fine and dandy. It's not like the white men were just mad chill about it. We're like, it's like, oh, it's law now. Okay, whatevs. Like y'all can vote. No, like throughout history, that's always been, like a fight. Like a freaking battle to just vote, and it's not like, the only things that have changed is just like, people fortunately just aren't losing their lives over it. At least not. I mean, nothing that I've like heard. Um, I guess in a way you can argue that COVID may have, sort of in a way prompted that because like it went through like the blue states first. That's just massive speculation. Um, but yeah, no, like we definitely take the right to vote for granted. Like I see a lot of people who are just, are proud non-voters, as if that's quite frankly a thing to be proud of. Like, sorry for sounding, biased, but it's like, why are you so proud of sitting on your ass? Like, what's to be so proud of? Like, why are you proud to be stagnant? Why are you so proud to, just go with whatever flow? And like whatever, like if you have your reasons, you have your reasons. It's just unless you're leaving this country anytime soon, I mentioned this on the on the stream before that we're all on this ship. All 330 million of us in this country are all on a ship. It's going to go in some direction. So it's like you might as well grab a paddle and start paddling. Because you're on this boat whether you like it or not. Like, like if it's like in Texas where it's like you can't have an abortion after 6 weeks, it's because of the people that they voted in. And it's also the fault of people who didn't vote. They're at fault too, because they're on that boat. They're on that little boat called Texas. And they could have paddled in one direction or the other, but they chose not to. And so that's what ended up happening. But, like if majority of people in Texas wanted to go in that direction, it's like, like what can you do? But I don't know if that's actually the case. But at the same time, I do know that in Texas, I think there was some issues with the mail-in ballots. I mean, don't quote me. I remember there was like something about like I forgot who it was, but like, yeah, don't quote me on this. That's probably just, yeah, don't quote me on this. But like, I could have sworn that I heard something like, like they definitely would have lost if like they counted all of the mail-in, but there's something like that. I could be totally fucking wrong. Don't quote me on that. Just throw that out of your brain. Yeah, I don't like like saying things and making it sound all true. I don't want to be that YouTuber. Like
Right.
so.
I mean, it's politics. I was just gonna say it's politics. It's okay. That's what we do. Welcome to the arena. Say things that may or may not be true as long as they sound good.
Right. Yeah. Like if I should have just said it confidently. Like just let's make that a true thing. What do they say? Like use the force for good. I should use the force. It's like, yeah, if they just counted all the ballots, so and so said this, and but no, I don't want to lie to y'all. That's mean. But what Chad said, like non-political framed as above it all, I guess in regards to like non-voters, that's what it seems like. And it's, like I try to keep like my ears to the streets, especially for like local elections, because like tiny, small local elections, I always try to make sure to keep my ears to the streets, because those are the elections that people ignore the most.
Yes,
especially like young folk. And I try to like mention things on social media, especially like Facebook and Instagram, like, hey, there's a local election. Like there's actually a local election now somewhere in my county. I couldn't find it, but the supervisor of elections has a commercial that keeps coming up on Hulu, which is great advertising, honestly. So I'm proud of him. But like, yeah. So like, there's some local election that's going on right now, but I don't think it's in my district. But it's going on, I think, until the 11th. So I'll try looking again. I'm just trying to figure out, like, hopefully I'm not missing it. But I'm gonna share it on Facebook. Like, hey, there's a local election for some of y'all. It's election right now. So like research some of the candidates, because it's always those little tiny, like fly-by-night elections that can make a world of difference. Like the only reason why the Georgia election, like the senators, was such a big thing was because like, hey, Stacey Abrams was talking about it since like, I think January 2020, and she even predicted that I could come to a runoff. Like she knew that since then, because that's how freaking good she is at her job. So she was already promoting it since then. So like but I don't really feel like that's the case in Florida, where you don't really have somebody with like that kind of voice in Florida, like that kind of Democratic voice in Florida, where we just don't know when these little tiny elections occur. But if we did, then I'm sure like a lot of awesome change could actually happen in Florida, but we just don't really have that voice. So yeah, long story short, we are absolutely taking the right to vote for granted, because a lot could change. Like, we could be in the progressive country that we know we can be. Like, we could be in a country that, like has better healthcare, in terms of like pricing, where we're not like paying an arm and a leg. We could be in a country where we can get amazing small business loans. We can be in a country that isn't, at least in certain areas, paying so high in like property taxes, and then people, who don't make as much are getting priced out of their neighborhoods. Like, fun fact, there's an area in Broward where a lot of judges live, so it's very, very wealthy, and their property taxes are very low because they vote for it that way. Because they know the law. They know what they can do. So their property taxes are very low, and they keep more money in their pocket. And we could all do that. It's not like areas don't have to just be gentrified because there's a lot of black people there.
Mm.
You know, black people, like, we need to educate black people in like these little tiny elections, like the one that's happening right now somewhere in Broward County that I still can't find, but it's happening. And, you know, like those little things. I think it's actually for judges too, actually, like Speak of the Devil. And, you know, like, and it's those little tiny elections where like they elect like probably like more right wing, even though it's a Democratic county. They might elect like a slightly more right wing judge. They might, you know, elect like a, you know, what have you, or what, you know, just like a judge that isn't really like for, you know, who we would normally be against, who would probably is just incarcerating, you know, black folk left and right. And it's like, why do we have this judge? It's like, because y'all weren't paying attention to the elections. So yeah, not like, I do feel like we're definitely taking our right to vote for granted, and I feel like we're also not paying attention enough to when there are elections, and like you might see these commercials and think it doesn't pertain to you, rather than just like taking a second and looking up, oh, like maybe it does. What is this election? What does it do? Judges aren't like whatever, you know, like police chief or the sheriff isn't just like whatever. The teacher, I forgot, like the supervisor of like education. I can't remember like the
Superintendent.
The what?
Superintendent of like all the schools.
Maybe it's like something like that. Education. I don't know, but that's like not, you know, like all of those positions like directly affect you more than you think. You know, because like the superintendent, if that's the name of the position, of the elected position, then you know that directly affects your students, your kids who go to the schools, the school board. Yeah. And that the school board directly affects what your kids learn. You know, like if you're not careful, your kids are going to be learning that the Holocaust didn't exist. You know, if you're not too careful, your kids are going to learn that, you know, happy like African servants willingly came to the United States to help out for free because they just had good hearts, you know. And they love their masters. They were BFFs, all of them. So, you know, like they won't learn about redlining, and you know, so like all of these things, like you could like it's sad, and you know, it hurts to just know that we could have like an amazing country if we all just sort of educated ourselves a bit, and actually, if you're born in this country, like fucking register to vote. just do it, just have it. You know, I'm not telling you to vote in every election, but don't be that person who thinks they might be registered, you know, and then you go to the ballot and you realize, you know, you go to, you know, the voting, you know, whatever, the place to vote, and you realize that you can't because you aren't registered. So we are definitely taking the right to vote for granted because, yeah, sorry, I could go on.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Toby?
Yeah, I mean, I concur a lot of that. I mean, the answer definitely would be yes. I would say specifically, I feel like I had something specific as well. Yeah, I guess part of just looking at the numbers of like the people who haven't voted, right, in any given election. Like I think with the 2016 election, like if didn't vote was a person, they would have won pretty much every state.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's clearly like a majority. So it's definitely taken for granted. Like I know some other countries, I guess it's compulsory. Well, I mean, I don't know the results exactly of if that like has helped have a better democracy, if the leaders are better. But I know there's a lot of European countries and like civic engagement is like 90%, which is pretty fantastic. You can actually have people out voting on issues that are important to them. Here, like you have to be really hard pressed to have it happen. Like there was more engagement, I think, with certain things that happened from like the 2020, the Black Lives Matter protests. Very specific examples I could go into. but like a lot of the time it's just like, oh, you don't know about this, and then something happens. Things get quietly added or done. I know, like Ron, you were talking about. I mean, maybe I shouldn't steal your um, your talking points, but like I know when you were looking at your local board at one point when you were interested in running, you were like, what do they actually do in these meetings? And you were like, look at the minutes, and you were just like, what is this? Like, what are these people doing in your place? And like, how many people? And I mean, I haven't either. I've also lived in towns that often don't actually have a city council, but even like town boards, like, do I know what's happening? Maybe not. And maybe we should kind of know what's going on. Like,
Okay.
especially if you live in a town that has like 100,000, like where I live right now in Mass, has like 100,000 people at least. And I'm sure there is a city council with the actual meetings. Sometimes it's not always open. Like I know Yenny was running for city council in Worcester, which is actually also Mass. And she was talking about how a lot of stuff wasn't open. There was not a lot of transparency. And mostly Democrats. So it's not like a partisan thing. It's just
Right.
that people don't really want to have transparency, whether you're blue or red. Doesn't
Exactly.
really matter. If you're in power, people don't often like to like give that power up or
That's the case.
really
That's the case
want
in
people
my
to keep them
city.
accountable.
Actually.
In your city?
Yeah, like like for like at the beginning of the pandemic, they were having like the city was apparently having meetings, like 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 the I don't know the elected officials. The word starts with a C. I don't know why my brain is just sucking today, but it is. Um, like the meetings were just private, and they had like somebody had to complain or a bunch of people complain. It's like, yo, put these meetings on Zoom so we can all know what the hell is going on, because you can't just be out here making decisions and we don't know about it. So then they opened up the meetings, but the fact of the matter is that was the thing that happened, and I'm sure most people didn't know. I didn't know until like it was told to me by like an older person who's like this black owned restaurant that I go to. That's in the city, but they don't live in the city, but like they still pay attention to the politics of the city because it does affect them. So that was just interesting. But yeah, go on, Toby. Sorry.
No, it's good. I'm glad that you interjected because that's interesting. I didn't know like how common that was that people had like closed meetings at their city council.
Mhm.
Especially because like things are pretty open. Like okay, federal government has its problems, but like you can see kind of the record for the most part with votes and bills and whatever. The state legislation I have not, to be honest, looked at Massachusetts and really their processes, but like pretty sure things are relatively open. You kind of know what's happening, what lawmakers are introducing, what. But when it comes to the local, Lord, if anyone knows what's going on in some of these towns, why did this decision get made this way? How are money, zoning rules being done? And then, like a lot of times, the people who have power are the big names. Like oftentimes, it's developers. That's pretty common that you have like a big kind of power dynamic where developers and contractors have priority and like kind of get an air of lawmakers. In Boston, we just got a really progressive mayor, the first Asian American, the first woman mayor in Boston. It was going to be historic no matter what, but yeah, the progressive choice ended up winning out. That's a whole nother conversation because there was like there's so many black candidates running too, and then like neither
Oh
of
yeah,
them won. Yeah, I don't know how many of y'all were following that Boston election, but I got kind of a front row-ish, second row seat to it since I'm like 40 minutes away. But like, yeah, I mean, people did like turn out, and that there was organizing being done for sure. It's just the point though is that like a lot of stuff it's going to be like the contractors and like the developers or whoever has the power, and they're going to be calling the shots. Little people not so much. So unless like people, that's actually really cool that people were clamoring, that like people were like actually like, yo, what's going on, like we want to see this, because I don't even know if I would have been like engaged enough to have like sent out an email or like a protest, like some kind of petition, to put pressure. That's exactly what you do. Like politics isn't just voting. That's important, of course, but there's a lot of engagement you can do to make stuff happen, because people don't always have your interest at heart, and until they feel some kind of heat, they might not do what's good for the people.
exactly.
And you can take that home to your mother or something.
That's funny.
It's true. I do like the fact that you brought up the whole like organizing, Toby, because that is massively important, and I think that really does like I guess, sort of like rile up people to go out and vote because like they feel like they're voting for something, rather than like against someone. So, like definitely like kudos to Michelle Wu. That's her name, Michelle Wu. Yeah,
Yeah.
kudos to her. That's super awesome because she's also like young too, right?
Yeah, I don't know her exact age, but she definitely seems like I had assumed in her 30s. I don't know her background very well. I have to look that up.
Actually, look at it. But I mean, I'm not saying like um her being young is like an automatic. Yeah, she's only 36. Um,
Nice.
yeah, that's young. I'm not just
Yeah,
saying
it's
like
very
her. Her being young is like an automatic okay, but like it is, it always is like good to, because like what ends up happening is like it's always like a lot of like much older, much more old school people in like these positions, and then that's another reason why things progress so slowly, because, and also like the ideas of like the Congress and Senate tend to be like way like outdated and antiquated. Like I'm not really a fan of the thought of uh like breaking up Facebook.
Mm,
Like, like I understand it sounds good on paper, but I feel like realistically, like okay, I understand like maybe like Instagram probably hates Facebook or something. But like if they were to separate, I feel as though like Instagram will probably hemorrhage a lot of money. Oculus would hemorrhage a whole lot of money.
mm,
WhatsApp would hemorrhage a lot of money because even though like each of those companies, maybe not Oculus, maybe Oculus now, could are easily worth over $1 billion.
mm.
Instagram, Oculus, WhatsApp, Facebook is still worth the most. Like the country of Myanmar equates the internet to Facebook. I don't think there's any country that equates WhatsApp to the internet or Instagram to the internet, like at least not yet. But Facebook just like these companies would hemorrhage money, like it'll probably lose a whole bunch of employees, and I don't think it's going to run and function as well as it is now. Also, like they probably won't even have like the money and space to even to be innovative. Or maybe they would. Maybe like the lack of money will force them to. But like, who knows? Because it's really hard to be innovative when you're hungry. Yeah. So, I'm not really like a fan of those proposed ideas. I hate how like one of the things I loved about Yang was that he would always bring up new ideas. It's like to fight climate change. He brought up like thorium and just all these other ideas that sounded preposterous, but what I loved about it was just the fact that they were, because it's like, well, this is a serious matter. He's taking it seriously. It's like, let's just throw the whole book at this. Let's just throw everything. Let's just like go balls to the wall with this. And I was all for it, especially as someone who lives in South Florida who has to deal with hurricanes and, the fact that it was like a high of 80 today. So like,
Oh, snap.
yeah, it's 69 degrees outside, which is nice. But like this is it definitely gets hotter every year. Like it's when I say like there's only like 2 weeks of winter, I'm not even exaggerating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to y'all, that's probably play winter anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Yes. PBS. Yes.
Oh yeah. I hear mostly on the radio, like just a few different stations that will play, but I do hear the news hour a little bit. The radio's interesting, but different conversation. It's just interesting how the news is presented there. I feel like oftentimes it's taken a little more seriously than like cable news. I mean, cable news tries to present itself as this way, but it's like often very personality driven. You're with Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo, rip. that, goodbye to the Cuomos. But
sorry to those men.
sorry to those men. Anderson Cooper. I mean, it's like very. Let's not even talk about Fox News. It's like it's just personality. I mean, yeah. I mean, some of them are like pretty decent at their jobs and everything, but like often it's just how their personality as a panel. It's kind of chaotic. But like radio, I feel like has a seriousness to it. Like it's like, okay, these are people who are really just public servants. Radio is often publicly funded, like NPR. Gotta love it. Basically, that's what I listen to in Boston's the NPR, Boston's version, WGBH. And it's like, yeah, like of course they have their opinions. You can kind of tell like their quote unquote bias, but like you actually feel like these are competent people just presenting facts and covering stories that are interesting. And stuff. So that's important though, to have that kind of like, you know, that kind of source that you can get informed from that actually feels valid.
Yeah.
But then how many people really listen to the radio, especially people who probably already engaged, who probably already vote to some degree. Maybe not all, but like I feel like you're already gonna get the engagement from the people who want to be engaged. So
you don't have your old timey radio set up in the kitchen while you
the two dials or whatever.
You know, just listen to the radio when you get home from work, when you leave your car, go into your house. You don't just listen to the radio.
The funny thing is, I'll listen to it for a bit, like in my car, or I'll stay for a little. Or what I do is I've gone to the website where it plays live. Glitchy, very glitchy. But sometimes, like I just have the radio going on, but in the background, but not like regularly. It's not something I think of unless I'm in my car. So like with COVID, there was a time that I just wasn't really listening to the radio. Sensational has begun. Yeah. Oh man, this thing, they've been doing like I don't know when the shift really happened or why like things have just gotten so bad. I know Trump, of course, was a profitable sort of cash cow for a lot of the news. Like
I say it was
you're gonna get high.
I say it was between 2008 to 2016. That's when when Barack Obama was elected. Jeez, with the spam, God.
Yeah.
Anyway, like
bots. Jeez.
I don't know what kind of bot farm is doing this.
Right.
And it's YouTube of all places. It's not even like a Twitch raid. Like, what's happening?
Right, I know.
Sure.
Like I'd say with Barack Obama being elected and then Fox News just having a field day for 8 years, you know, that's a long time, you know. Like, you know, to think about it, like if Barack Obama was elected when you were 10 years old, then the first time you're voting would be for Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or the third guy, Gary Johnson.
The third one.
Jill Stein. So that would have been your first. So like you probably would have just grown up in the kookiness of, you know, if you have like a Fox News family or if you have like a CNN family, because I'm sure like, or MSNBC more so, because I feel like MSNBC is closer to Fox News in terms of just sensationalism, craziness. CNN is more so now. They're like, you know, like if MSNBC is like dialed up to an 11, CNN is like a 9. You know, it's like it's still loud as hell, and you need to calm it down. But yeah, no, it's like that's what I've definitely been noticing. I noticed shit was getting really, really bad in 2015, like for like, you know, the 2016 election. Like you start to like, I've been a Redditor for almost 10 years. So I noticed like a massive shift in Reddit. And I feel like Reddit is a hub of the internet, just like how Twitter is. So things start to like kind of bubble up and form in Reddit, and it might branch over to Twitter. Twitter might be like the second touch point, or sometimes Twitter is a hub, and that's like the first touch point that it might go to Twitter. I mean, I might go to Reddit. So I feel like Reddit and Twitter are both like hubs, especially of misinformation, and Reddit became like a massive hole of misinformation, as did 4chan. But 4chan was always kind of a shit show. But maybe like
God.
decades ago it wasn't, but I never really went on 4chan, but sometimes 4chan could be shitty, and then it breaches over to Reddit, and then it goes over to Twitter. Anyway, so Reddit started becoming like a massive hub of misinformation with like alt right. I mean, Throwback Thursday. I don't know when the last time you heard of alt right, but that was remember like a big thing. And Donald Trump and what's his name, Brexit dude,
Oh,
Boris Johnson,
yeah.
and like Bolsonaro.
No, I literally was just thinking of him.
Yeah, and then the dude in the Philippines, Duarte.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was all like happening simultaneously about, and it was just like with the massive misinformation that was spreading on Reddit, and the YouTube algorithm, and like the sinkhole that YouTube can be. No offense, us, but like that's when like things started to get really, really shitty and going down the toilet, and then I think cable news just sort of picked up on that because they just started getting addicted to attention and ratings. And it wasn't even just cable news; it was just news.
Mhm.
Like Trump was being talked about constantly. I don't know how right wing or Republican or conservative Facebook users or Twitter users, how their news feeds are looking, because like since Biden's been elected, my Facebook has been like eerily quiet in terms of like I don't see like I gotta check to see if I still follow the New York Times or like Washington Post on Facebook. But like, for the past 4 years, it was just constantly Trump, 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 negative, 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 negative. It was just like on loop. But now it's just eerily quiet. Like you can hear like a pin drop, because it's just everything is just fun and games and happiness on Facebook, and it's so terrifying. Like that shit's scary. So I'm sure, like on like more, if people who lean more right, conservative Republican leaning people, they probably see a very scary Facebook, like how I'm sure they did for the past 8 years with Obama. So, I'm just like, just very concerned, like, because I feel like I have a massive blind spot that was given to me. Like I didn't even choose to have. It's not like I'm choosing to ignore this. It's just like you're not really giving me much of a choice. I felt like I was a lot more informed, during like the Trump years, and now I'm just like, I feel like it's just like. It's like, yeah, I could, just subscribe to the New York Times or like the Wall Street Journal, or, I could always just do that. Or just like follow Fox News, I could always just do that. But like, I don't know if a part of me is just sort of afraid to see what is being said. And I don't really, and after like the past 4 years, I'm just like mentally exhausted. And I'm sure that's probably how Republicans felt after the 8 years of Obama. They probably just felt mentally exhausted, because 8 years is a long ass time. If they saw the news that I was seeing about Trump, but like in Obama form, then I don't blame them for not really knowing. I really don't, because it's just like, I need my brain to have a break. That was that was just mentally exhausting. That was just hella tiring. So. Like, I do need to stay informed. This is one of the reasons, this is one of the millions of reasons why I do you know, appreciate our YouTube channel,
Mhm.
you know, because it does help me to just sort of like, it's like, yeah, I have to force myself to stay informed because I kind of have to. And I feel like I'm not doing as good of a job as I should be. But like, yeah, like, sorry, like I know this was just like a random rant, but yeah. No, like I do need to stay informed, but like it's exhausting. It's exhausting when it's, and I guess I just sort of got used to it just being forced down my throat for 4 years. That it's just like I'm tired. Like even on Twitter, like I unfollowed a lot of news. I only follow like my local news and like I think the New York Times or something. And I follow this girl who writes for the LA Times, but we follow each other. So it's like okay, now I know shit about LA too. Like
Hmm.
it's getting real creepy on the conservative side. Tucker Carlson has the zeitgeist. No, I hear like it's getting really bad with Tucker Carlson. Nah, I've been hearing it's getting really bad with Tucker. What? Like he said something the other day that I heard. I can't even remember. But it was just like this is really bad and concerning. Or he was like threatening like an Asian. Was he threatening or like I don't know. I just know that if you're like an Asian American like politician, then you're like always called a communist. Like, and like this one Asian American politician, he posted his stuff on Twitter. So like somebody messaged him, I think either on Facebook or Instagram, like a Canadian. Gotta get caught up on InfoWars, find out that the globalists are up to, maybe purchase some brain pills. You know, fun fact, apparently InfoWars, like years ago, used to be more left-wing. Yeah, it used to be pretty, like, progressive left-wing, apparently, and then it just, like, went over to the other side. Throne of Chinese Skulls thing?
I heard about
Oh!
I
Not
heard
that,
about
but I do
I've heard of
remember
that.
that. No, thanks, Chad. That wasn't even it. That's how fucked up shit is.
Chinese skulls. What, yikes!
Yeah,
I'm missing out on
that-
something.
It was something about like the army, like oh they don't want
Oh,
like women or trans people in the army, like something that
Yeah,
had nothing.
that's related to the Throne of Skulls. That's
Exactly.
related.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
related.
No. That's no that like I remember that. That's what I was talking about, but not what Tucker Carlson said. Like that was actually two different things. But no, I remember what the Throne of Chinese Skulls thing was about, like not having trans people and like they just want a bunch of men on a throne of China. So his guest said that. His guest said that.
Mm-hmm.
And he just sort of like let it ride. And I'm like, it's like they want a man to be on a throne of Chinese skulls. I'm like, what year is this? What?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's some strange stuff.
Mhm.
Like talking about the army, like oh, in America it's an embarrassment because I think they're making like maternity leave or basically for women like something more accommodating. Because just to make what they're wearing more accommodating if there were people who were pregnant in the army. And so then that's when Tucker had to go on a rant about, oh, our army is a disgrace and a joke. Look at China, so masculine, we're so feminine. I don't know. I guess some kind of boner he's got for the Chinese army. He needs to work that out with him and himself. But he's like projecting that boner on all of television. Not pretty at all. It was very weird. I was just like, why are we so pressed about the fact that we're helping women be more adjusted in the army to the point that it's like, oh, look how manly the Chinese army. Like, what's happening? And then there was a whole spat between the generals and then woke generals, and I was just like, what? How are we starting this year? Because I don't. That had to have been like early 2021 when that whole nonsense happened with like, oh, the army, the generals are woke or military's now woke, and then of course the critical race theory. So anyway, let me not get too much into it. It was just strange. I was like, this is a very strange thing to be outraged about.
Very. Yeah, like I don't know. Like it's just the whole like, thinking that like masculinity is being under attack because it's like, women just want to be treated as people. It's like, yeah, we're getting kind of annoyed by this. So, yeah, purging the military of femininity as a pretense to politically purge.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
interesting.
you
Yeah.
want to expound upon that one a little
Yes,
bit?
please. Yes, please, Chad. Please expound.
Expound on that. While you're expounding, I'm going to throw in my little two pennies in the jar. And in going back to the topic at hand is, are we taking the right to vote
For granted.
for granted? And I would say I'll echo what Elle said and say yes, because of the fact that a lot of times, I think somebody else said it too. A lot of times, it's not taught at school, and so because it's not taught at school, it's also not being taught at the house. It's not being taught at home, and so you have already a group of individuals who will not vote because one, they don't know how to vote, they don't know what they're voting for. Even though yes, they may see the commercials, they may see the candidates, they may see all of that, but because of the fact that they don't take the time out to do their own homework and figure out how is this going to affect me in the long run, not in the short run, but in the long run. How is voting this judge going to affect me in the long run? How is voting for this sheriff going to affect me in the long run? How is voting for the governor going to affect me in the long run? The U.S. House of Representatives in the long run, the state House of Representatives, the state House, the state Senate, the state Supreme Court. How is all of this going to affect me in the long run? They don't dig into that. And so already out the gate, you already have a group who's already at a disadvantage, clearly, because of the fact that they're ignorant to the fact that you do have the power to have a say so, but because of the fact you choose, as Elle said, to sit at home and do nothing on your do nothing, you're not helping at all. And so it's like it's imperative to do that. Even while everybody was talking, like I was pulling up articles left and right. Of course, going back to 2021, back in July, of course, 18 states already passed like very, very, very strict voting laws that's going to make voting hard, especially now that most states are doing their elections in this year. It adds on. And so now it's like, okay, what's going to happen from that point moving forward? How hard is it to make it? How hard is it going to be for people to vote now when it shouldn't be hard at all? It should not. As long as you are an American citizen and you can show proof, totally different thing, that you are an American citizen, you should be able to vote. But it's like, okay, well, I know of some 16-year-olds who have more common sense than most adults and who are very much mature than most adults who could probably hold an office and do a better job than most adults. Why not give them the privilege and the opportunity to vote? And I liked what Andrew Yang was trying to do when he was running. He's like, lower the voting age down to 16. Most 16-year-olds are already working, are pretty much driving. They already have their license. So we already know they're a little bit more responsible to do that. Why not give them the right to vote, to add on to that responsibility and see what happens? And I think that's a very brilliant idea. Very
Mhm.
brilliant idea. And I think that by not, I wouldn't say investing, by not empowering our younger generation to take action is going to make it harder for them when they get old enough to, they're just not voting. I mean, true. And again, as they get older, a lot of times they're gonna just do the research for themselves. Like, well, this is going on. This is what's going on. I'm gonna pull up on my smartphone and see what's going on. Do my own research, draw my own conclusions, and even then talk amongst my peers and figure out what would be the better result. What would be a better outcome? What should we do? And even then, with social media being an influencer as far as what's going on the local level, reaching out to a lot more people locally to kind of help out. Yes, it's imperative that we do what we can to preserve the right to vote. And even then, just because we're old enough to be able to preserve the right doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have people who are going to try to take that right away, because as Al said earlier in the stream, people realize that if you give somebody power to do something and you tell them they have power to do something, and especially if it goes against Richard Casey because you're about to get banned.
He's a bot. Like, I don't know. Is there a way to because it seems like it's this .ong. Like, if there's like a way to just, like if .ong in comment section, YouTube,
auto filter.
Like yeah, exactly. That's what it's called. I don't know why the hell I'm doing like a freaking, I don't know.
Yeah.
Statement.
Well, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like, it still would be that logic. Like, it would basically just use that logic of if this thing ends in .ong, then filter, or block or whatever. Though, what if Mish or someone accidentally just was typing then just .ong on accident? Next thing you know, they're blocked because they just had a typo in their comment.
Yeah, that's true.
Being facetious, but like, I don't know if somehow certain things get flagged.
Well,
who knows? You can always unblock people if it's a false positive.
Well, I
that's true. That's true.
I want to say because I know on Twitch, if there's a word or a phrase that comes up, more than likely, they're getting blocked. As soon as that word or phrase even comes up, it's going to tell them, hey, you can't say that. Hey, you can't say that. Even if you try, it's going to say, hey, you can't say that. And you're going to get a notification saying that you can't say it. So it's not like the other person is not going to see it. Like, no, you're going to see it clear as day. You're going to see it. On YouTube, however, I don't know. Something I have to play around with and whatnot, and gives me some homework to do on the side, so that's fine. But yeah, going back to the original thought at hand is basically once people know they actually have the power to do something, you're going to have people that's going to try to take it away because they realize that as long as people remain ignorant to what they have, they're not going to use it. But as people start waking up to the realization, like, hey, I actually have some say-so. Hey, I actually have some power. And if I grab 10, 15, 20 people who have that same power, who can get this crappy council person off and replace that person with somebody else who will actually do a better job, let's do it. Let's rally behind this one person because we realize this person is solid. This person is a really good person. This person is really about empowering the community, and it's been a big force in the community. Let's get this person in there to help us. That kind of ordeal. And all I say all of this, I say all of that to say this, that do your research early and figure out who's running and grill them. Talk to them. See what they're trying to do. See what their plans are. And especially now that a lot of places, a lot of things are starting to open up a lot more, and some places restrictions are starting to get lifted up a little bit. But at the same time, because we're still trying to play it safe, is you still have that to keep it in mind, and ask them those tough questions and see what they're all about. Because at the end of the day, by you finding what this person is trying to do, and finding out what this person wants to do, and figure out what this person's end goal is, you'll be a lot better off and having a peace of mind versus saying, "Oh, I wish I could have," "Oh, I wish." Like, no, just do your research. Do what it has. Do what you have to do. Do what you got to do. Even the last past election cycle, running, well, not running, but helping um, the candidate, though she lost, not even by like, she lost by, like, let's say 8,000 votes. Okay, she lost by 8,000. Even still, if we had, even if we talked to that same amount of people, she would be in the position that her opponent would not be in. You know, but again, her opponent understands that the county that we live in is very conservative, very right leaning, very Christian, pro Trump. But at the same time, because I can say I'm a Christian who's pro Trump, pro gun, that's the reason why you should vote for me. And that's it. They're going to run for it. Versus, well, why are you? Why do you? What is it? What does that have to do with me and my family? Georgina Clark. Bye.
This is annoying. And like they don't even have like the manners to just be like, hey.
Well, you say hi. If you're gonna troll, say hi.
I know, right?
So whoever's bot farm you're doing on YouTube, I'm just gonna put it to you like this: at least have the common courtesy. If you're gonna troll, at least say hi. At least say we suck. Something.
Right?
Something.
Yeah. Instead of like that, because it's not even like.
Yes.
Like, who the heck is gonna copy it and then take away the space to make it into a URL? Like, who is that curious? Like, hi, it's me. Get political with local.
This is not you. Nice try. I get it. No. Yes.
These local likes of schools. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is huge.
Yes, this right here. Oh yeah, that's a big issue, especially in my area. Zoning is a very big issue. Very big issue that has been in effect since 1940. The same zoning laws has been in effect since 1940, and it's like, why? This is 2021, 2022, 2020. This is the 20th, 21st, 22nd century. Like, why? People are wanting
so for like
to
80 years. They've been 82 years. It's just been the same. They're like,
same.
Yeah,
like why? But again, because people who don't go to vote, who don't do the research as far as what positions are available and how stinking easy it is to get into those positions. I mean, I'm just saying, it's so super easy. It's so super easy.
Yeah.
And even still, like, even if you can sway enough votes away from the opposition, again, it does you a lot better in the long run. It does, because now the opposition says, oh crap, if this person was able to do this and this was only their first go around, what's not to say on the next go around that number won't double, won't triple? What's not to say that this person might actually win that position? No, I'm not going to Mars.
Not just bikes. Oh, dope. Ooh. Transportation too. First of all, LOL, yes to Mish, but to Chad, that's like a huge thing. I got to check that out because there's a lot of transportation, urban planning stuff that absolutely could fill a whole month's worth of conversation. So resources are appreciated.
True.
Yeah.
I just heard that I think it was France. France is gonna now require automotive commercials to say that, like, to definitely promote like walking and biking. Just like, like, for like, just think about it as alcohol commercials where they say drink responsibly. Like cigarette commercials which don't exist in the US. To just, like, smoking can cause blah blah blah, this and that. So gambling can, be addictive. So it's the same case for like cars. It's like, yeah, cars can cause, do cause a lot of pollution and change the climate change. So like it would be great. It's like, hey, if you live under, a mile, maybe think about biking or walking to the place, or carpooling and taking public transportation.
Mhm.
So like they still promote, it's like, hey, you can have a car, but warning.
Agreed.
Yeah. And that's something that you could vote on, like, even in this country. Like, we could literally, like, all the stuff that we drool over on other countries, we could have it in this country. Like, we totally could.
Oh
You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but of course.
Hmm.
But of course.
Because, like, what ends up happening with, like, I believe it's lobbies that do this, where, like, they have, like, they probably, like, create, like, these organizations, like these little fake organizations that sound good, to put on commercials, to advertise to you, to promote something that goes against your wishes, goes against, like, your, like, your well-being, like your, yeah, like, what'd be better for this country overall. Because it's just like, well, if more people are taking the trains and less people are going to be driving, and I need to build more roads, so that's what gets me money. So I'm gonna put out this thing to be against trains, or I'm gonna put out this thing to be against buses and crap like that. And that's why we don't have any bullet trains in this country, which would have been mighty nice if we did. Or better public transportation.
Yes to the bullet trains and other things, though, but also what Chad was saying for sure.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right. No, exactly what Chad was saying. I did want to mention that, earlier when I was saying, for sure, that's absolutely true. And Mark also lives in Florida, so we know that all too well. But I did want to mention, like, earlier when I was saying, like, if you're a non-voter, or if you're not, voting, like, of course, this excludes people who, have, like, a physical disability and they are unable to actually get to the polls. If they are, not a citizen yet, and so they, they don't have the right to vote. If you have a hella demanding job and you're just trying to make ends meet, and you're working 12 hours a day, every single day out of the week, and you just literally have zero time to actually vote, that, like, of course, this doesn't quite pertain to you, because I understand and I sympathize. But if you have free time, if you know that an election is happening, and you know a lot about the candidates, and you have opinions, that's what pisses me off with non-voters, when they have opinions about the candidates. It's like, no, you're not allowed. Like, I had a professor in college who was a Republican, who was conservative, and he would talk about it, and he had, like, a best friend who was, like, a Democrat or whatever, and, like, he'd just, like, make jokes about it and all that. But one thing he said that still resonates with me, and I agree: if you don't vote, you can't bitch. If you
Yeah.
don't vote, you can't bitch.
Yes.
You
Yes.
like it pisses me off when a non-voter is complaining. It's like you're not allowed to. This is what you wanted, right? Because you didn't care for anything, so you should be cool with this, right? You're not cool with this. Like that surprises me because you didn't do anything to change that. You didn't try. Like literally, voting is the most you could do. That's legal at least.
Yes.
Don't try like charging up into the Capitol and trying to create a coup d'état like what happened a year ago. So it's like because
Yeah.
that could have if they like that could have gone really really bad and we could have just been forced to have Trump again and then y'all would have just been chill about it supposedly because he didn't vote. So it's like everything that happens is cool, everything that happens is fair.
There you go. Yes. Right
What?
there.
Nice.
Nice. Give it up for Mark.
Hell yeah. No, and your vote definitely counted because I'm sure it got into a recount and another recount and another recount. But you definitely helped it, get to the side that you wanted.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there have been elections that have been swayed by one vote. That has happened. And continues to happen. So, like you might feel like 10 votes, it's like there are probably some people who still think 10 votes is a lot. It's like, well, my vote wouldn't have mattered. It would have just been by 9 votes. It's like you can't think like that. Like you gotta win and make it so obvious that this is the case because if there's like even an inkling of doubt, like they can easily sway.
You earned the right.
Exactly. No, definitely. You absolutely earned the right. Like I would happily listen, but you can't bitch if you don't vote. You can't because you wanted this to happen. Doing nothing is doing something.
Yes.
Fair.
Hmm.
I know there was actually I saw this somewhere. It's on Wikipedia that there was a place in. It might have been Mississippi. It was a Democratic candidate who was reelected, but it was a tie, and they literally did like drawing of lots, like some kind of ridiculous nonsense to like determine how the tie would get broken. And he did get reelected, but he complained about it because he was like, "This is not like this shouldn't have happened. It's not democratic." But so I had seen that maybe some weeks ago because when I saw the Wikipedia page again, I was like, "Oh, I visited this." But then when I looked at it the second time, I was like, "Wait." I actually read the whole thing and I was like, apparently there was a lawsuit brought up against him. Against like there was like a legal challenge to the vote, and somehow it actually ended up getting overturned. Kind of ridiculously, like I forgot what happened, but it got overturned, and then the Republican guy ended up being in, and I was like, wait, what? If I could find the link, I'll send it because it was kind of ridiculous. But like that's how close some of these races are. That was a House, Mississippi State House seat.
Which is
Zero.
very important.
They won by 0 votes. Like the fact that it was tied, like that is not even like real. Like there was a Democratic candidate in Iowa who was basically losing by like 4 votes, and normally you do like your own recount process, but she actually went straight to the House of Representatives, which is usually like the next step. Usually when you kind of fail the state recount, then you can go to the House of Reps and they can do something federally. I don't think she actually ended up getting that district, but it's kind of insane. Just like, this is important. Like these votes actually matter. Georgia was a very narrow margin, so it's just that was only like 12,000 votes, which is nothing compared to like the entire population of the state and how red that state was. It's just I don't think people just can like understand the gravity and like how important like a single vote really is. I mean, they made a whole movie. I'm actually kind of interested to watch it now that I've been more politically involved. But Swing Vote, I remember seeing commercials for it. Like a guy who who voted, but his vote a bunch of people's votes, I guess, his vote basically got rejected or something. And I guess somehow they found out that he voted, and basically the two political candidates were at a tie. So I think both the candidates find out that somehow he was the guy who basically voted, and he has a chance to revote, but now he literally is the swing vote. And now I'm like, yo, I need to find that movie. I feel like it came out before 2008 or maybe after, but it's serious. Like, anyway, soapbox done. I wish Jeannie and Erica, they had like a great spiel on voting rights, voting in local elections right before the 2020 election.
Mhm.
So I wanted to give a shout out to them too, because they always are very passionate when it comes to that topic.
No, true. Speaking of movies, there's another movie by Jon Stewart from The Daily Show. I think it's called like The Candidate or something, that came out relatively recently, probably within the past 2 years. And it stars like the guy from The Office. I don't know why his name just like Steve Carell. Steve Carell.
Steve Carell, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, Steve Carell and I don't know. There's somebody else in the movie. Anyway, he's like the most famous person in the movie. But it was like a fantastic movie where this this guy goes like in this small town and like in the Midwest. This man goes viral by speaking up at like his local like city council or something about like, and it talks about like immigration and all that, and it goes viral. And then like Steve Carell works in like the Democratic Party, and then he goes out over there to try to promote his campaign to try to, make him a Democrat and to appeal to the voter mass, which is predominantly red. And it's just sort of interesting how the whole process is. So I definitely recommend the movie. I think it's called The Candidate. Let me actually Steve Carell, Jon Stewart movie. Wait a second. It's not The Candidate. This is like, I'm totally wrong. It's called Irresistible. I was totally wrong.
I mean, you could, in another context, those two words could go together. Candidates were dating, and someone's irresistible.
I mean, I guess he was an irresistible candidate. So so it's called Irresistible. My bad, totally wrong. So the movie's called Irresistible. I highly recommend it. It's a great movie. Mark on YouTube mentioned like that he apparently the Nevada election in 2000 was closer than Florida. I didn't know that. I didn't hear that. But I think the reason why Florida had such had so many eyes on Florida is because that's literally like, if it went to Gore, we would have had Gore for president in 2000. And like I think about that a lot because Florida lost Gore by under 540 votes, which is nothing. Like I'm sure if you like just go out to like, I don't know, like New York City and just walk around, you pass 5,000 people. like you probably pass like thousands of people. So the fact that we lost it by under 540 votes, just 540 people just stayed home that day, or like just didn't vote, and we could have had, we would have definitely been in a more green society. And we probably would have had like better health care and things like that. And shit may not be like so I don't know. I mean, who knows? I just know that he's very pro, like he's very pro green. So I don't know. Like I think about that a lot. And also when it came to like thousands of votes, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he won by like 33,000 votes. And that may sound like a lot-ish, but like that was, I think, less than 1% or like 1.5%. It was a very tiny margin, probably less than 1%. And there was literally 100,000 registered Democrats in my county, Broward County, the most liberal county in the state. There were 100,000 registered Democrats that did not vote that day. So we could have won that. We could have won it hard. We could have, like, if they all showed up. If only like 40% showed.
Yeah.
Not even, it's not like all 100,000 had to show, but if 40% showed, like,
Dang.
yeah. So it's just, it's just very, and it was a big election too. It's not, I don't know how no one could have heard. I understand that like midterm elections, people just routinely vote less on midterm elections, but like, it's just depressing because we could have had a very left wing, very progressive, like Bernie level blue, Democratic, black, bisexual candidate. I mean, like governor, which would have been a first on many fronts.
A lot of yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, and it's just so disheartening to think that we could have had it. But there's people who probably just think like, oh, of course Florida went red. I was like, this is just how it is. There was no point in voting. Because 33,000 sounds like a lot, but of course you're only responsible for yourself, and you might be able to like take a friend or two to vote. But if people are just like, I'll do it tomorrow, I was like, oh, the election passed, or like, oh, I forgot, or like, who the hell knows? I don't know.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it's like, but honestly, like, and I think Trump won the state by 200,000, but there was a lot of fraud. Not like, let me clarify. In Miami, especially, there was an election where there were two people. There was a Democratic candidate and this random independent candidate who had the same last name. The independent candidate didn't have really any history, sort of just like kind of signed up. Like it was very sketch. And I think it was in a very like predominant like Latin community area because I think their last name was like Rodriguez. And then the Republican candidate also had like a Latin last name as well, who was a woman. The Republican candidate. It was pretty much like, I think the male candidate, the Democratic candidate, won it last time, but the Republican Party or people affiliated with the Republican Party like hired this guy who I don't even think lived in the area. But he somehow made him able to run in that area, didn't really promote him, do anything. And that siphoned votes from the Democratic candidate. Because it was just, it was literally, this person was literally just planted there for confusion. And it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it does sound really, really, really suspect.
Mm-hmm. No, that's exactly like, yeah. I don't even know what had really happened with it. Like it was on the news. It wasn't even on the news as hard as it should have been. It was just like kind of on the news somewhat sometimes. That I would see it on like my feed. I felt like that should have been like something that was just constant, but it like kind of wasn't. And I feel like it just sort of quieted down. But it was like, that's just hurtful because I understand that like Miami gets like a bad rap because of like a lot of, like the Cuban population tends to be like more so right leaning and things like that. And like, I think the governor of Miami, Francis Suarez, is Republican, but he's very left leaning. I don't know if you actually like follow his policies and what he believes in. I honestly just feel as though he just felt like he could probably win it being a Republican, so he probably just ran as that. So, because he's very like pro cryptocurrency and like I think he's very pro green as well. He's kind of progressive towards like the left in certain cases. So, I mean, like whatever. If he's just using the force for good, I'm all for it. I really don't care at this point. But the mayor of Miami, I think the county, she's Democrat. A lot of like Like there's a lot of pockets in places where like the candidate like the it's Democratic, but Miami, I don't know which part of Miami, but like they're saying that Miami is like the biggest conservative city because like I think we ended up losing a lot of like house seats because of that, for the state or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember. Don't quote me. I don't know what the hell's is going on with my brain today, but um, no, like, but it was very disheartening that election
Yeah.
because that was just corruption, like flat out.
Oh, but of course.
Hmm.
Of course. And again, a lot of times it doesn't get made into the news outlets, the media outlets, because then it will be out there in the open, knowing that yes, there is a big issue. That yes, there is corruption that's going on, and that our current system actually does suck, and it needs a huge gut clean, grease, WD 40, whatever. It just needs a deep cleaning because it's for the most part it works, but it doesn't work as well. You
Hmm.
know, and when you were talking about how the Republican Party like transplanted somebody from one area to another area to siphon off votes, like that just literally happened in my county the last election cycle. Like legit, like the guy that's in the seat now, he's not even from the area. He's from Kalamazoo, which is a totally not even Kalamazoo. He's from Portage, so that's like a city probably like 40 miles north of where I live. And apparently, he ran for a seat. He ran for the state seat, lost to a Democrat. And so I guess made his way down here, did it again. And because of the fact that the county itself, like I said, is very conservative, very Republican, very right leaning, of course, he won just by off of that. Didn't have any kind of real policies, didn't have any, didn't really have anything to help us out. And then had the nerve to send out a flyer saying, I voted no on every bill that came past and did the research on the ones that you voted no for. It's like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you in? Like, I know why you're in the seat, but dude, get real. Like, some of these things it was very beneficial, and you voted no. Like, got you, got you. And even then, he's eyeing to take the seat of Fred Upton, again from Michigan, for the U.S. House of Representatives. He's eyeing to take that seat. And it's like, so you come in just to kind of get your feet wet to take over somebody else's seat, but you're not even doing a good job in the current seat that you're holding. Like, why would most level-headed Republicans vote for you knowing that you've already done a crappy job as it is anyways? I mean, it's irritating. It really is. It's really irritating. It's very frustrating. And it's like, come on, when are you guys going to wake up and realize that some of your candidates are pretty much just crap? Like, it's okay to admit that you're wrong. It's okay. It means you're human. It means you're not perfect. It's okay. We all have flaws. It's just this Joker right here, nah, he ain't the one. He is not the one. But that's my little rant because I can go on and on and on and on and on and on. But I choose not to.
Go on and on and on. some song. But yeah, like it's crazy, and that's the thing is people take advantage of like either low turnout or just like certain partisan built-in leanings, and so they just kind of are they can just do nonsense like that, and it doesn't really matter, and they just go ahead and boom, they get in when they really shouldn't have. Like I remember there was a guy who literally got arrested for the insurrection shortly after he was sworn into the West Virginia State Senate. I think it was the Senate. It might have been the State House, but I remember Richard Ojeda, who was a big in a way kind of a supporter, or like he like was friends with Yang. He ran for president briefly. This West Virginia military veteran. And like it was just so funny seeing how because I think he was with Boyce, Mindful Skeptics, or he was with someone and they were talking, and Ojeda was just like, yeah, like basically you could have a bowl of diarrhea. I mean, like you could have a bowl of diarrhea with an R next to the name, and they would get a vote in some of these places. And it's just because things are built in. And so unfortunately, that makes people maybe not want to vote because you feel like it's like rigged a certain way. And of course, you have the right with their sort of clamoring about, Trump should have been president. But like a lot of people have different opinions on like, maybe I shouldn't vote because, there's going to be voter suppression anyway. Thankfully, Georgia, they did not buy that at all. They went ahead and did their thing last year, blew out every expectation with those Senate races and the presidential election. But like, it's hard. Like, it's hard to like really get engaged if you already believe it's taken from you because like you feel like there's just no hope because how things are built in. And like, the polling stations, I think Mark, polling locations. I was seeing what he was saying about how he had to vote, like, wait 2 hours. And people really trooped through in Atlanta, all of Georgia, and other parts. There are other places, too, where people had, Texas, I heard, the primary. A lot of them voted for Biden in the end. But, like, that primary, people were waiting in line for an ungodly amount of hours. And it was a Democratic primary, so it's not like, explicitly that it was like, oh, this helps the Republicans, but in a way, you're just showing them like, oh, I'm trying to vote now in the primary, and look how bad it is. Look how bad it's going to be then when you get to the general. So, and of course, that's big too, is that you're not going to be able to get the change if people can't vote in the primaries very well. So it's insane.
Yes. And primaries are so key. Primaries are so key. If your state has a primary, if your county, city has a primary, get involved in that because that's where you get at least a chance to see who's actually running and to see which candidate more so fits your ideas. And even if they don't fit your ideas, it's okay to talk to them. They're not hard to reach out to. Most of them are glad to pause, stop, rewind, play. Most candidates are very much open to sit down and have a talk with the people that they're trying to support because they want to build that relationship. They want to be able to reach back to the community and say, listen, you voted me in to do this job. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, which is why I like John Holy. I mean, this man had a virtual session almost like every week. Every week when he was running, he had a virtual session about every week, like once or twice a week. He was doing a town hall, just sitting around talking with people, talking to the constituents, and finding out what it is that they really needed and why their current representative was failing them. And he was like, listen, I'm going to change that. I want to be able to get in a position to change it. I'm here to talk. I'm here to listen. I'm here to do A, B, C, and D. I just need to know what it is you want me to fix. I'll go up there and I'll fix it. And he's a real cool guy, really, really cool guy. Shout out to John Holy, and he actually got people to think a little bit more. He got people to kind of to look at not necessarily the short-term things, but more so long term. Like, okay, I understand that a lot of these things don't happen right away, but we can put in a change now. We're going to reap the dividends when it comes out later, versus say nothing, do nothing. We had moan and groan and complain when things will go our way. You had the chance and the opportunity to do so. You didn't take it, And to go to what L's point, yes, first best thing, go vote. If that don't tickle your fancy, then run. If you don't like what's going on, then run. You have everything in the world that says go for it. Do it. If you don't think the current person who is in the seat is doing a good job, but you also don't like the other people that are on the ballot, then throw your name on there and see what happens. Go for it. The most that could happen is you don't get voted for. It's okay, but at least you tried. At least you tried.
Right. And even to go further, like, honestly, like, getting into an elected position is actually pretty good job security.
Oh yeah.
There are people who are just running unopposed. There are positions that like nobody is running in certain places, and you could just run it, and like it's very like little requirements to actually run for a position, for like an elected position, and then it's like boom, then you have a job that has like great benefits. So,
yes.
Funny enough, about like sometimes like I joke around with the idea of just like doing the bare minimum just to run for governor, like as like an independent or something, and just not do anything. And like I think it would just be funny, like if Twitter like just like blew it up and I just don't do anything and I just become like a random serious candidate just like a meme candidate essentially. Like I've thought of that because I just think that would just be like hilarious. And if I were to actually win, it's like I could be governor of Florida by just fucking around. Of course, I would take it seriously, but to run, I wouldn't take it seriously at all. Once I get into the position, I would take it seriously.
I love that. Campaigning, the politics. No, I'm not about that. But I'll get down to business and direct. Okay, bet.
Yeah, like I would just say like I wouldn't go to like any debates. I wouldn't do anything. I just like put on Twitter once like all the things that I support, and just call it a day. Because like honestly, I don't know. Like I feel like ever since like with Trump, like what the fuck matters anymore? Like I still see people doing like the same old tactics, and it just seems sort of pointless. Like I retweeted Nikki Fried, who is the commissioner of like agriculture in Florida. She's the only like state elected Democrat, and she's actually running for governor now. And she posted something like, because I feel like a lot of times she just keeps complaining about Ron DeSantis, which can be really fucking annoying. But she's very pro cannabis, like legalizing it, which is good. But she was saying how like Ron DeSantis is a dictator, or he's becoming a dictator. He's already like half the word. And it took me a second to get it. I was like, oh, she's calling him a dick. And I was like, that's actually pretty funny. And some people, like one person commented saying like, hey, we're moving down to Florida. Can we keep it civil? Can we keep it mature? And I'm like, I think we're past that point. I think with all the shit that's going on, we're sort of past that point. Like, I don't understand like, the whole keep it civil part, keeping it good, keeping everything okay, as if things aren't okay. So like, I think it's, she called him a tater. That's what Chad said. Because he had like a picture of him with potatoes. I didn't quite understand the potato. I think a dictator.
Yeah. So I heard that joke in high school. It was like, what do you call a mean potato? A dictator. And I was like, oh, that's actually kind of funny. But
no. I've never heard that joke before, so it was a first for me. But yeah, so I mean, most people were sort of for the joke. Some people were like totally against her, because I don't know, like calling her like a communist or whatever, because that's all they could really say. But only one person was like, "Oh, let's keep it good, let's keep it, It's like when Michelle Obama said, "When they go low, we go high," but how high can you go? Charlemagne the God from The Breakfast Club always says, like, no, if they go low, we go lower. If we go low to the floor, we go low to the floor. It's like we go as low as possible.
how low can you go?
Exactly. And I'm like, I don't know. Whatever works, whatever gets people to vote, whatever inspires people. Like I wish it was for, the positive in me. Like I wish it was like for positive reasons. I wish it was for good. But like I don't know how social media is set up, how people are getting their information is set up, what people are listening to. It just doesn't even matter. Like it's none of it is positive. It's never like something to have like a civil conversation about. We're really not hearing the other side. We're not listening. We're not giving them the time of day. Vice versa. So it's just sort of like, what the hell can we do? Like I feel like the middle, like like there's just so much left and right, but the middle, even though everybody wants to be in the middle, I think like there's still like a massive reluctance of going into the middle, because for whatever reason the middle just isn't winning, even though they totally can. Because like as what Toby said earlier, like if doesn't matter voted, we would have doesn't matter as a president. We would have doesn't matters all over the Senate. We'd have doesn't matters in the House of Representatives. Calling the shots. So it's interesting how a massive amount of people feel this way. Well, actually, it's like a large majority feel this way, and it just sort of makes zero sense. It's like, why do most people think none of it matters? Like if most people believed, then like we would be where we should be, where we should have been. But now we're just like at these polarized sides, and social media, like they're not going to stop it because it's what makes them money. They don't really care either way. I don't know what we should do. But and of course there are people who, like what Mark was saying about like the polls, where some people are just waiting for hours to vote, which is absolutely disgusting. Like there definitely needs to be more people need to volunteer at the polls. The polls I feel like need to be open longer. Because I can't remember what time they close. It'd be like at like 7 or 8 or something early as shit. Like, I wouldn't mind volunteering up until 11 p.m. midnight. Like I'd be more than happy to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely more like mail-in ballots and things like that to drop off the ballot into the ballot box. I agree with Mark with blockchain voting, like or just something that's hella secure, because we do a lot of secure, like if you can register to vote online, why can't you vote online? Like, you believe me enough to send me a voter ID, but to vote. And I understand, like, it's very, like, I'm sure it'd be very easy to hack voting because It's not like our government is the most tech savvy. So yeah, like paper ballots is the safest for sure. And some um, voting stations have like screens that you vote on, which have been proven to be problematic. Like there was like this one video where like a woman shows you how to hack it with like using no tools. It's like, oh, you can just easily open it here, and open, and then you just take out this cartridge, and you can just reset everything. And like once again, like no tools at all. And it's like, and like I don't know who the hell like creates these machines. Like I don't know if they're writing it in like COBOL or something, or like some like decrepit language.
That's what some godforsaken language.
Yeah, like I don't know, are they like make it in like Macromedia Flash or something? That's what they use like for the
x86 assembly all day.
oh jeez. But yeah, we are definitely like a lot of people are definitely taking the right to vote for granted. It just sucks that there's just like if they didn't, then we wouldn't be slowly getting our right to vote taken.
Yeah. Wait, you have to run that one back because I feel like there's it was just like low-key profound, and I didn't realize it till the end. You said that if you take your vote if you take your right to vote for granted, then slowly you don't realize that your right to vote is being taken.
Pretty much. I said if people didn't take their right to vote for granted, then our right to vote will be taken. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Something like that.
Oh, but
Thank you.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's so true. It is so true. And again, it's happening. It's already happening. It's already happening. Whether people want to admit it or not, it's already happening. And if we're not careful, then again, that right will get snatched away, and we could moan and complain and groan about it, but it's like, it's your right, then because you didn't exercise your right the way that you were supposed to do, I would say tough something, but I can't say that on the stream. Oh
well.
Tough cookies.
Yeah.
Tough noodles.
Yeah, really tough noodles. Anyways. We are going to go ahead and wrap this thing up because next week we're going to do some digging around. We're going to definitely do some digging around. But while we're doing some digging around, we got some homework, at least. It's a fun. It's a really nice video. You guys should really watch this video. And again, it was brought to us by President Manny himself.
Melanated cookies.
Without fail. There's a TLC pun every single.
Yes. Can you please bring tough melanated cookies? I love it.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
Oh snap! Mark's about to get started. He's like, nah, we're just getting started. 2 hours? This is just the first half.
I know. This is just the first half. It's like, really? Y'all can stay on. I'm going to bed.
I don't even feel tired. Probably, I don't know if it's because like the day feels like, I don't know. It's weird. I was up in the morning too, like 9:30. I was literally thinking that this isn't even my final stream.
Sir,
Great nights.
This
Great
isn't
night.
even my final stream. Wow,
he's having, listen,
tough
Mish,
melanated cookies.
Mish hasn't even reached level 5,000, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This Parlow's not even at 5,000.
Misha's pun game. Unbeatable.
Unbeatable.
Right. My scouter's not working.
I'm powering
Yeah.
us as we speak.
God.
Yeah. So again, I just dropped the link as far as the YouTube video. You guys watch that. We're going to talk about that because that's what's going to give us some historical content, why we had this stream, and also why we're saying why we're asking the question, are we taking the right to vote for granted? Because there's some stuff that goes on in this video that, again, it makes you think a little bit, and it causes you to kind of reevaluate why there was such a huge push for civil rights. Why was there such a huge push for voting rights? Why there's continuing to be a huge push for rights to be enacted and not get taken away. So watch the video at your leisure, because come next week we're gonna talk about the historical content, and we're gonna dive right into this bad boy, because again, that's what we do here.
Oh, you already know.
That's what we do here at the Melanated. So we're gonna jump off. We will catch you guys later. Thank you guys for showing up as always.
Showing out.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. And again, as always, we appreciate you guys for showing up and showing out and just vibing with us and having this conversation with us, because without y'all, there wouldn't be no us. Like, for real. Without you guys showing up, there wouldn't be no us. So, brain, slow down, please. For everything that is good and intentional, slow down. Also, we do have a Discord if you want. Okay. If you want to join us on Discord to talk off stream, maybe sharing some ideas of what we could talk about, and just have a well-rounded conversation. I'm dropping that link in the channel or in the chat now. Bam. So that way you can we can stay in contact and reach out to our supporters. Let y'all know that we are here. We are no more than a text message away. And yeah, we like to hear from you guys as well. So, Elle, Toby, final words.
Just vote and keep abreast.
Oh, we have a final word from someone.
Yeah, from Spam.
God, they had to get their last lick in. I was gonna say that the thing with crypto and blockchain voting, I remember Yang had a policy looking at that, and there was some other discussion from tech sites, like maybe not Polygon, but there's like some other ones that typically do a lot of tech news, and they mentioned it, and they said there's some pros and cons. So I think it's an idea worth exploring, because they do have online voting for certain people who are disabled. So I'm like, if you literally have certain apps that you create a safe environment for people to vote who have disabilities, then like scale it up. But anyway, my takeaway is, for the future, I'm kind of excited to see what reforms people try to come up with to improve these systems.
Yes. Agreed. Elle, you good?
No, I'm good.
All right, you guys. In the Twitch, Twitter, YouTube verse, have a good night. We love you guys. We'll catch
love.
Same time, same channel, same trio. You never know. We may bring a special guest. You never know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye.